effort.
Welcome to Fun with Flags. Here's our volume of prisms lesson.
Do-do-do. Get ready.
Mrs. King is very into her flags today. Go ahead and get your notes set up. We have our learning target, 6G2, find the volume of right rectangular prisms, and our I can statement. I can find the volume of rectangular and triangular prisms.
All right, we're going to start off by reviewing what you know from 5th grade. I know you guys have discussed the length of a line is usually in centimeters or inches, so we talk about that being units.
So for instance, this would be 3 centimeters long.
It looks like 4, but whatever.
It's 3 sections.
All right, when we talk about area, we're talking about base times height. So we're talking about units squared because you're multiplying two things together.
So you're trying to figure out how many squares could fit inside. So we could say this has an area of
4
12.
By 3. I was going to finish.
12 centimeters squared. That's why it's squares, because we're fitting how many squares could fit inside of it.
Okay. And then when we're talking about volume, we're referring to 3-dimensional shapes. So we have 3 dimensions to consider. We're talking about length times width times height. That's very nice.
I thought that was really nice.
So we were going to talk about 4 by 3 by 2, so something cubed. Oh, you're actually going to figure it out for them. 4
times 3 times 2 is not that hard.
Centimeters cubed. Thank you. Cubic.
So as Mrs. King talked about, there's 3 different measurements, so that's why it's cubed. But another way to think of it is you're filling a box with actual cubes, little blocks. They're 3-dimensional objects, so our units are to the 3rd power.
Do you even think they know what sugar cubes are?
I'm sure some of them have eaten a whole bunch of them at a restaurant once.
Maybe. Doubtful. All right, the amount of space inside a 3-dimensional figure is the volume of the figure. Volume is measured in cubic units, and this tells you the number of cubes of a given size it will take to fill that prism. Units cubed, correct. So the volume is capital V of a rectangle prism is the product of its length times width times height.
So you're just going to multiply those 3 together. Another way to do it is sometimes you'll see that capital B. Capital B stands for the area. Oh, I don't know why I didn't write the rest of it.
Which is why I get so annoyed when I used it the other day in area.
So that means the area of this base, in this case the rectangle, times our height. So another way you'll see volume written sometimes is capital B, meaning find the area of the whole base, and then multiply times our
height. That's going to be
height.
Key as we change our 3D shapes. All right, example 1, if we're going to do length times width times height, V is equal to 10 times 5 is our base, our capital B, times 2 is our height. So we have 50 times 2 or 100 cubic feet.
These were the easiest problems you do in geometry. Next one,
base,
5 times 5 times 20. So our volume is equal to our length times our width times our height. 5 times 5 is 25, times 20 is...
What are you asking me for, mental math man?
Should be 500, I think.
Yards cubed.
All right, 5. Yeah, 5 times 20 is 100 times 5.
I got you the second time.
All right.
I was zoning out, and you caught me. All right, so we're going to work backwards because we're ready to already. So volume... Oh, you're going to write that way?
I'm going to write my formula like we started every other problem with.
I thought you were going to do the big B. All right, 4 times 6 gives us 24H.
I really should be using the X for multiplying, sorry. But plug in the numbers that you know. 4 times 6 times the height.
Keep up, 24H.
Our volume was 84.
So we're going to divide both sides by 24. Gives us 1H on the right. And 84 into 24 seems...
So we do a little math off to the side. 84 divided by 24. 3 times 24 is 72.
Yeah.
Oh.
What are you doing?
72.
Remainder of
Subtract
12.
like
Hey,
12,
what do you know?
Add a 0 and bring it down. Oh, don't forget to put your decimal into your answer. 24 goes into 125 times. So our height is equal to 3.5. Since it's just the length of one of the sides, our units would just be meters. But you plug it in.
Tricky decimal.
Decimals aren't tricky.
All right, we are changing the base on you already. Volume of a triangular prism. This time the base will be a triangle, and you know from our area unit that we're going to need to consider that triangle is half of a quadrilateral, rectangle, or parallelogram. So we're going to find the area of that triangle and multiply by the height of the prism. Here we go. We have a...
Well, let's give them the other version of it. Another way you could think of it as you could do your length times your width times your height, your three measurements. But because it's a triangle, think about how you would find the area of that triangular base. You always have to add in that divided by 2 at the end.
Okay.
So we're taking our three measurements times, multiplied together, and then dividing by 2 at the end.
Are you ready now?
Sure.
So we have an isosceles triangle. 5 times 4 divided by 2 is... Oh my gosh.
I want to make sure they know what you're looking at. So we focus on the triangle first. 5 times 4, and then we're going to divide by 2.
Is 10 inches squared.
And then we're going to multiply
8
times...
inches gives us 80 cubic inches when we are finished.
So think of it as find the area of the triangle, and then multiply times the other measurement going back for us.
What you got?
All right. When you look for the triangle, remember you got to find your base and your height. So look for the two measurements that meet at a right angle. So here's my base is 8. My height is this one that they had to draw in here, my 7. So I'm going to do 8 times 7. It's a triangle, so I'm going to divide by 2. And then the last step is to come back and multiply times our height, our third measurement kind of going back this way. 8 times 7 is 56. Now I'm going to divide by 2. 56 divided by 2 is 28. 28 times 6. So we'll do a little math off to the side. 28 times 6 is 168. We're dealing with feet, and volume is always cubed, so feet cubed.
Should we let him do this one or do it for him?
Go ahead, pause, try this one on your own, and then come back and try it when you're finished and see how you did.
All right. If you remember from our Mad Lib on composite figures, when we're talking about right triangles, our base is here and our height is here for the triangle. So we have 6 times 10
So look for those that meet at a right
divided
angle.
by 2 for the triangle. And when we're done, we're going to multiply by the other measurement, which is 12 for the prism. So 6 times 10 gives us 30. Divided by 2 is...
6 times 10 would be 60.
60? What am I doing? Divided by 10 is 30, and we need to do 30.
Hold on 1 second again. 6 times 10 is 60. Then she divided it by 2 and got 30. And now she's going to multiply by her other measurement.
Actually,
I know what her mind was doing, but her mouth wasn't telling you the same thing.
And her 6 looks terrible, which is all she was thinking about. I can't write good.
They know.
But it's
They're
so
just
neat
waiting for you to get done.
class. 0, 6.
1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 3 is 3.
It's really hard to write when you're laughing.
It's really hard for you to write either way.
Okay. Did I divide by 2 and multiply? Yeah, we're good.
All right. Hope you survived that last one. Have a good day.
Chaos.